Under the Equality Act, disagreement is discrimination. It includes gay marriage, men competing in women's sports, and doctors performing procedures like gender reassignments that go against their conscience. It's a bill the president wants to sign into law during his first 100 days. The Equality Act provides long overdue federal civil rights protections for LGBTQ+ Americans, preventing discrimination in our housing, education, public services, and lending systems, the president tweeted. But the bill does much more.
We can see that it would immediately be stripping religious Americans and stripping girls and women of our equal rights.
By redefining sex discrimination, the measure would provide for abortion on demand, likely end a long-standing prohibition on taxpayer-funded abortions, and remove conscience protections for doctors and nurses. Biological men would be allowed to compete in women's sports, effectively obliterating Title IX, while girls and women would be forced to share locker rooms and bathrooms in schools and public places. Harley says we don't have to guess about the results. Just look at cities and states that have already passed similar laws.
In Alaska, the city of Anchorage had a law like this and punished a faith-based homeless shelter for battered women and actually forced them to allow biological men who identified as women to sleep and change clothes alongside these women, most of whom were victims of rape and sex trafficking.
She says the Equality Act allows for subjectivity, an issue Senator James Lankford raised last summer on the Senate floor.
If I go to interview in a job and I'm not hired, I can sue that employer because I perceive they were thinking I was gay, and so they didn't hire me. I don't have to prove anything. It's based simply on my perception or belief.
Under the bill, Christian beliefs are unlawful. Churches could be prevented from requiring employees to abide by their biblical beliefs about marriage and differences between men and women. Alliance Defending Freedom is litigating a case in Virginia, a state that recently passed a law like the Equality Act.
Churches are banned from having a dress code, having a code of conduct for their employees, even asking in interviews if potential employees share core religious beliefs.
Harley and others opposed to the legislation say tolerance must be a two-way street.
I think the Equality Act treats people of faith as second-class citizens. It specifies a certain point of view and it labels it as bigotry.
And Gordon, as you mentioned, the Equality Act is expected to be acted on in the House today, where it's expected to pass overwhelmingly. Then it heads to the Senate, where its future is a bit more uncertain.
Well, Jennifer, I'm kind of surprised to hear the prediction that it's going to pass overwhelmingly in the House. Are Republicans going to vote for this in the House? And if so, does that mean it will pass the Senate?
Well, when this passed, this was introduced in the House last year, and it passed the House last year. Last year, a number of Republicans, if I remember correctly, I think 8 supported it in the House. In the Senate, it looks like it's a bit different. We have already seen, so last year when this was introduced in the House, Susan Collins, who is a Republican from Maine serving in the U.S. Senate, she served as the lone Republican co-sponsor on the Senate side. This time around, she says that she is not going to co-sponsor the legislation. Whether that means she would vote on it in final passage, that remains unclear. We also know that Senator Mitt Romney has said that he will not support this, citing concerns over religious freedom. And we don't think that any other Republicans are going to support it. We also know that at least one Democrat in the Senate, Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, has said that he has some problems with the legislation as written. So right now, again, it looks like it could stall in the Senate. But Gordon, make no mistake, this is something that Senator Chuck Schumer really wants to get done. This is something that he wants to do for his base. This is something President Biden wants to get done for his base. And I think, from Chuck Schumer's perspective, he realizes that Democrats may not be in control of the Senate. They may not be in control of the House in 2 years. And so they feel like this is really an opportunity to get it done. And I think we've already seen, I've seen some reports of senators saying that they're going to be really working their Republican colleagues very hard on in the Senate to try and convince them that they should vote yes on this legislation.
Well, the base includes Christians, includes Mormons, includes Muslims, includes Orthodox Jews. It includes all of that. Why isn't there a religious exemption in here? The Constitution spells out that Congress shall pass no law respecting the freedom of religion. So, you know, or prohibiting the free exercise. So why in the world would they not have a religious exemption?
Well, that's a good question. And I think that's the problem that people who have problems with this cite. They say it is counter to the Constitution. It prohibits people of faith, all the faiths that you just mentioned, from exercising their constitutional rights. And so I know that Congressman Chris Stewart from Utah is planning to introduce some legislation he also introduced last year, which is the Fairness for All Act, which attempts to amend the Equality Act in a way to allow for protections for people of faith. Now, some people say that doesn't go far enough, but there are people working to try and make a compromise. And I think, you know, for people like Congressman Stewart and other people who think that that's the right way to go, they say, look, religious conservatives cannot keep telling the LGBT community no. And they point to a state like Virginia, where for decades Republicans held the line, if you will, against similar laws like the Equality Act, because they were afraid of these same concerns about it, prohibiting people from exercising their faith. And then as soon as Democrats took control of the legislature, they passed legislation much like the Equality Act with no regard for religious freedom. And so people like Congressman Stewart are saying we have to find a way to work together on this so that people in the LGBT community feel like their rights are being honored and religious rights are not being trampled on. That certainly is not what the Equality Act is. It elevates the rights of LGBT Americans over those of women and people of faith.
All right. Well, we have a viewer question. What exactly is being done or being taken away? Can you explain it in layman's terms?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, Gordon, for me, it's what I said at the beginning of my piece, which is disagreement is discrimination. And so if you are a woman and you're concerned about going to a public restroom and having a biological male come in the stall beside you, you disagree with that, that's discrimination. If you disagree with having biological males change for gym class with your daughter, who is a student in school, or compete against her in athletics, that's discrimination. And if you as a Christian believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, that's discrimination. And so there you have it. I mean, that's prohibiting stepping on the free exercise of someone's faith. And it is very problematic. And, you know, there are a number of state legislatures right now across the country, I think about a dozen, who looking at the sports issue specifically and working on legislation to try and prohibit this from having biological males compete against young girls who have trained for years. And they're just getting trampled when men are allowed to compete with them. And so you have Congress trying to push through the Equality Act while, like I said, about a dozen states are working to make sure that this doesn't happen in their states. So this is a very unsettled issue.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thanks for your insights. You can always get the latest news coming out of Capitol Hill by downloading the CBN News Channel app. We'll be watching this bill. Please let your senator know how you feel about it. It looks like the Senate is going to be where this is going to be finally hashed out, if you will. And can there be a religious exemption? Can there be protection for women within an Equality Act? That's up to us to let our senators know how important it is. So get involved, be informed, download the app. Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.